You know what's strange? The people who actually have the most presence in a room are usually the ones who talk the slowest. Why is that? Why do we listen more carefully to the person who isn't rushing to be heard? Think about two people in the same meeting. One person starts talking fast, stacking point after point, almost like they're racing against an invisible clock to prove they deserve the floor. Then you've got the other person. They speak slowly, they pause, they don't fight for attention, but somehow, the whole room leans in. You see the same thing in friendships and families too. One person explains, over-explains, and fills every silence just to avoid being misunderstood. The other person says less, but every sentence lands like a hammer. Here's the thing nobody talks about. Speaking slowly is a massive social signal. It tells the room you don't feel the need to chase approval in real time. It suggests what researchers might call a high level of internal calibration. You're comfortable with attention and, more importantly, you're comfortable with silence. Now, fast speech isn't always insecurity. Some people are just naturally wired for high-speed delivery. But in most social situations, speeding up happens when someone feels pressure. Pressure to justify themselves, pressure to avoid being interrupted, or pressure to keep control before they lose it. Slower speech creates a completely different impression. I'm not panicking. I'm not trying to win you over instantly. I expect to be heard. It works because our brains read pace as a signal of stability. When someone is unhurried, we subconsciously assign them more authority and credibility. We assume they are more certain and less reactive. But wait, it gets weirder. This only works if it's authentic. If someone drags out every sentence like a performance, people feel the mismatch. Real confidence doesn't sound like a slow motion video, it just sounds settled. And because most people reward calm pacing by listening more closely and interrupting less, it reinforces the pattern. It creates what researchers call a high contingency environment, where the calm action leads directly to a more powerful outcome. So, how do you actually apply this? First, use the pause. Not after every word, but right before an important point. It shows you are choosing your words instead of just spilling them. Second, finish your sentences fully. Let your last thought land completely before you race into the next one. Third, lower the need to explain everything at once. Confident communication is often more selective, not more crowded. It's about depth over noise, what not to do. Do not fake a deep, ultra-slow power voice. It sounds unnatural, and people will see right through it. Do not stretch every sentence so much that it feels stiff. And don't assume that talking fast is always bad. The goal isn't to sound slow. The goal is to sound settled. The point is not that slow talkers are always confident. It's that pace reveals pressure. The more someone feels they have to prove, defend, or hold attention, the more their words tend to speed up. Once you see this pattern, it stops feeling personal. You stop hearing speech as just words, and you start noticing the emotional state underneath the pace. If this made you look at conversations a little differently, consider subscribing for more psychology breakdowns like this, and share this video with someone who talks a little too fast.